For more than half a century, fans of Bewitched have wondered what really happened to Dick York. The charming actor who brought to life the first Darren Stevens, the mortal husband of television's most beloved witch, Samantha. He appeared in 5 seasons of the show, winning hearts with his warmth, humor, and charisma, until he suddenly vanished, replaced by another actor without any clear explanation. Viewers were confused, the press speculated, and Hollywood stayed silent. Why did Dick York leave at the height of his success? Was it a disagreement with the producers? A conflict with Elizabeth Montgomery? Or something far more tragic? Something no one dared to reveal? Today, 50 years later, Dick York's family finally breaks the silence and tells what really happened. The moving truth behind his departure and the secret he carried until the end of his life. It's a story of pain, sacrifice, faith, and dignity. But before we dive into this remarkable story, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. It helps YouTube know that you love real and hidden stories from Hollywood's golden age. And don't forget to like this video, because that simple gesture helps more people discover the true legends of classic television. And at the end, leave a comment. What surprised you the most about this story? Stay until the end, because the final revelation will touch you deeply and change forever the way you see Bewitched and the man who gave everything for his role. In the 1960s, Bewitched became a true television phenomenon. It was a family ritual. Every night, American homes filled with laughter and imagination as the witch Samantha Stevens, played by Elizabeth Montgomery, appeared on screen. With a simple twitch of her nose, she could turn the ordinary into something magical. But behind the laughter and charm of the show, there was also a deeply human element, represented by Darren Stevens, the ordinary ad man who fell in love with a witch. And the man who brought that character to life was the charismatic Dick York. With his kind eyes, natural humor, and sincerity, he became the face of a generation that believed in love, gentleness, and the power of laughter. Audiences fell in love instantly. York didn't just play Darren, he was Darren. He gave the character a warmth that made the show more than just a comedy. It made it emotionally real. Elizabeth Montgomery and Dick York shared a rare chemistry, the kind that can't be taught. Together, they looked like a real couple, balancing humor and tenderness in perfect harmony. But while viewers were falling in love with this magical duo, a painful truth hid behind the scenes. Dick York was fighting a silent battle against a physical pain that had haunted him for years. A pain that, sooner or later, would change everything. It all began in 1959, during the filming of They Came to Cordura. In one demanding scene, York tried to lift a fellow actor, but the effort pushed his body beyond its limits. One wrong movement, a sharp crack, and his back was never the same. The injury would leave him in constant pain for the rest of his life. At that time, medical options were limited. York went through therapy, minor surgeries, strong medication, and even home remedies, but nothing truly worked. By the time Bewitched began, he was already living with daily pain. Yet he accepted the role that would change his life. On set, he never let it show. He arrived punctually, smiling, cracking jokes, and lifting everyone's spirits. To his colleagues, he was kind, funny, and full of life. Elizabeth Montgomery, sensitive and intuitive, noticed his fatigue and tried to keep him cheerful between takes. She knew he was pushing himself too far. But over time, the pain became unbearable. Filming for hours under hot studio lights was a physical torment. Still, York refused to quit. He believed that making people laugh was more than a job. It was a purpose. "As long as I can stand," he once said, "I'll keep going. The audience deserves that." Those words defined who he was, a performer dedicated beyond measure. But the human body has limits. By the start of the 5th season, the pain was overwhelming. He needed help just to stand up, trembling through scenes, trying to hide his suffering. Then one day, during a normal filming session, the inevitable happened. In the middle of a scene, Dick York collapsed. He fainted right in front of the cameras, overcome by exhaustion and agony. The crew rushed to help him and took him to the hospital. That would be his last day on the set of Bewitched. The production, under pressure from deadlines and contracts, acted quickly. Within weeks, York was replaced by another actor, Dick Sargent. There was no farewell, no tribute. York simply disappeared from the screen. Fans were shocked. How could such a beloved actor vanish without explanation? Why didn't anyone speak out? Rumors spread. Some claimed he had fought with Elizabeth Montgomery. Others said he was fired for drug problems. But none of it was true. Years later, his wife Joan York finally revealed the truth. Dick wasn't fired for arguments or addictions, she said. He was taken off the show because he simply couldn't handle the pain anymore. She explained that he had developed a dependence on strong painkillers, not out of weakness, but necessity. It was the only way he could keep working. Even then, he never saw himself as a victim. York refused to give up until his body gave out. When he learned he was being replaced, he was devastated. He cried for days, not out of pride, but because he felt he had let his audience down. He loved that character, Joan said. It was like losing a part of himself. After that, silence. Hollywood moved on, but York stepped away completely. He lived in seclusion, dealing with both physical pain and the emotional void of losing the role he loved most. But instead of bitterness, he chose empathy. He began dedicating his time to helping those in need. Even bedridden, he would take phone calls from strangers, offering words of comfort. "As long as I can help someone," he would say, "I still have a purpose." That chapter of Dick York's life revealed his true strength. He could have turned angry or resentful, but instead he chose kindness, and that choice defined him. In the 1980s, another challenge arrived. York was diagnosed with severe emphysema, caused by decades of smoking to cope with anxiety and pain. Once again, he faced it with humor and grace. "If I can make someone smile today," he said laughing, "then it was worth getting up." His wife, Joan, was his rock. They remained together until the very end, always holding on to hope. Even in his weakest moments, she said, there was still a light in his eyes, the same one that once lit up America's screens. He didn't see himself as sick, she said. He saw himself as lucky. Lucky to have lived, loved, and been part of something special. When Dick York passed away in 1992 at the age of 63, he left one final message for his family. "Don't cry for me. Laugh. Always laugh." Simple words, but powerful, from a man who turned pain into love. Decades later, his children decided to share untold details of his final years. They said he missed only one thing, the chance to thank his fans. He wanted to say thank you, his daughter Kim shared. That role was the love of his life. He wanted people to know how much it meant to him. And there's a touching detail. Even after being replaced, Dick York kept watching Bewitched. He laughed, praised the cast, and rooted for the show's success. "What matters is that the audience is happy," he used to say. That simple attitude, free of bitterness or ego, showed the greatness of the man behind the actor. Today, half a century later, the name Dick York still lives on. His time on Bewitched may have been short, but it was unforgettable. He didn't need decades of fame to be remembered, just a few years of genuine passion. Critics and historians agree that the show could have collapsed after his departure, but the love audiences had for York kept Bewitched alive. Even now, fans around the world still call him the real Darren. The difference was something you can't fake: sincerity. Dick York had a natural sweetness, an authenticity that reached through the screen. His laughter was real. His expressions came from the heart. He didn't just act, he lived each scene. While many actors chased fame, York searched for meaning. He never cared about being a star. He just wanted to do his work well. And ironically, it was that humility that made him immortal. Today, Bewitched is remembered as a timeless classic, but it's Dick York who keeps its soul alive. He represents an era of innocence, warmth, and humanity, values the modern world still longs for. The story of Dick York isn't about failure. It's about resilience, about a man who chose laughter when his body wanted to cry, who faced pain with dignity, and who left behind a message of love and hope. He may have left the set of Bewitched, but Bewitched never left him. His spirit remains in every episode, in every loving glance between Darren and Samantha, in every laugh that still echoes across generations. 50 years later, the truth about Dick York isn't a story of defeat, but one of courage. He wasn't broken by illness. He was lifted by his strength. He kept believing in goodness, even when the world seemed to have forgotten him. When his family finally told the full story, they didn't do it to clear his name, they did it to honor his humanity. The man who never wanted to be a star ended up becoming a symbol of integrity and compassion. And maybe that's why audiences still miss him to this day. Because Dick York represented something rare: simple kindness, genuine laughter, a true heart behind the fame. He may have left Bewitched, but Bewitched never left Dick York. His spirit lives on in every scene, every smile, every glance of love between Darren and Samantha. And in the end, that was his greatest magic, turning pain into love and silence into legacy. If this story moved you, subscribe now and leave a like. It helps YouTube share more true Hollywood stories like this one. And don't leave yet. Click the video on your screen now to discover another powerful story about a legend Hollywood tried to hide, but time refused to forget.